Hello everyone, welcome to Perseverance IAS. Hope you are all doing well, staying safe. If this is the first time that you are on this channel, please do subscribe. Now today we are not discussing an editorial because in the Hindu newspaper and in the Indian Express, right? The editorials are a little bit same old, but I thought the explained from the Indian Express today carried a good article explaining the collegium system. So let us do a exploration of the collegium system, that is how judges are appointed and transferred in both Supreme Court and in the High Courts. So the article is how SC judges are appointed, right? So before going into that, let us understand how judges are appointed from the constitutional perspective. According to the Constitution, under Articles 124(2) and 217, these two articles govern the appointment of judges of the Supreme Court in the case of Article 124(2) and the High Court in the Article 217. Right? These two articles in the Constitution empower the President of India to make the appointments. Meaning, these two articles give the President of India the power to make the appointments to both the Supreme Court and the High Court respectively. So what does the text of that article say? The text of the article says that after consultation with the judges of the Supreme Court and the High Courts in the states, as the President may deem necessary, he can make the appointments to the respective courts. That is what the essence of those articles say. Right? Now, this is where things get interesting. For a long period of time, there has been a lot of ambiguity on the word consultation in those articles. Right? The word consultation has been at the center of debate between the executive's power to appoint judges and the Supreme Court. Right? Now, conventionally, the executive, that is the government in power, had the power to appoint judges to both the Supreme Court and the High Court since independence. Now, what was the principle followed there? The principle of seniority was followed, meaning the senior person would be appointed as the Chief Justice of India. And who had the power? The government, the executive had the power to appoint the Chief Justice of India. But things changed in 1980s. Since 1980s to 1990s, or at least the end of 1990s, over a series of judgments in Supreme Court cases, the judiciary essentially evolved a new system that would allow to appoint, or that would bestow the power to appoint judges to the Supreme Court and the High Court to itself. Meaning, over a period of individual Supreme Court cases, in a sequence of cases, the judiciary essentially empowered itself to the power of appointment. Right? Meaning, they developed a procedure through which they can make their appointments by themselves and transfers by themselves, bypassing the need for the executive's decision or consent. Now, what were those judgments? There were 3 judges cases, right? 3 judges cases, or 3 judges case played a crucial role in forming the collegium system that we see today. Now let us explore each case individually. Let us explore the first judges case, which was in 1982. During this deliberations, during this case hearing, the Supreme Court of India explored the meaning of consultation in regards to Article 124 of the Constitution. They deliberated whether the word consultation, does it mean concurrence? Right? This is where they deliberated on that word, whether consultation meant concurrence or not. During this hearing, they decided that consultation does not mean concurrence, right? What that ruling essentially gave was, the ruling gave the executive primacy over the judiciary in judicial appointments, meaning the power to appoint, the extreme or the over authority to appoint judges went into the hands of executive. It was a case where the CJI would recommend judges to judicial appointments or individuals for judicial appointments or transfers, and the executive can and should take the decision on those suggestions. If the executive feels that the names that were suggested were not right, he could refuse those appointments. So the power of appointment was in the hands of executive. Now let us explore the second judge's case, which happened here, took place in 1993. In the first judge case, what was decided? The executive had supremacy over the CJI, right? CJI would essentially suggest names and the executive would take decision, and it was decided or interpreted at that point in that hearing or in that judgment that consultation doesn't mean concurrence. So things turned in the second judge's case in 1993, because in this case Supreme Court overruled its earlier verdict. Whatever they did it in the last verdict, which was in 1982, they overruled that judgment and they changed the meaning of consultation to concurrence. Earlier in 1982, they didn't see that consultation meant concurrence, but in 1993, they overruled their own judgment and changed the meaning of consultation to concurrence in the constitutional article. They interpreted in the opposite way. Now, this is where we first saw the collegium system taking shape. It was the first iteration of collegium system, because during this judgment, they stated that CJI would not take the decision, but whatever the opinion or suggestions that CJI comes up with, it would be an institutional opinion and not an individual opinion. What do you mean by that? It means that CJI alone would not be taking decisions. Instead, he would have help and must consult with two other senior most judges of the Supreme Court itself. So if a CJI is taking decisions on transfers or promotions of judges, appointments of judges, then he must consult two senior most judges, other senior most judges in the Supreme Court. So this was the first structure or shape of collegium system in India. This was in 1993. Again, there was a third judge's case which took place in 1998. So in 1998, what happened was, K.R. Narayanan was the President of India. So K.R. Narayanan, President of India in 1998, issued a presidential reference to the Supreme Court. What is a presidential reference? So the presidential reference is nothing but, according to the Constitution of India, President of India can request the Supreme Court of India to provide its advice on certain matters. The process of asking, right, to provide advice to the President of India by the Supreme Court is called presidential reference. He is saying, see, I have an issue that I need clarification on. So, you Supreme Court of India, please provide your advice on certain matters. So, he is referencing a problem to Supreme Court of India to suggest their advice. That procedure is called presidential reference. What article empowers it? Article 143 of Constitution of India empowers the President of India to refer any question in regards to law or any matter that he may think is of public importance that would serve the public interest better if he could get Supreme Court's advice. So Article 143 allows the President of India to issue presidential reference to the Supreme Court to seek their advice on matters of public importance. Now let us come back to it. So in 1998, President K.R. Narayanan issued a presidential reference to the Supreme Court of India asking, what is the meaning of consultation? Right? Whether it required consultation with a number of judges informing the CJI opinion, or whether a CJI's sole opinion could be itself a constitution or constitute a consultation. Right? So what he essentially was asking was, you said that consultation doesn't mean concurrence in the first case. Then you changed it to consultation means concurrence. So now I am asking, what is the meaning of consultation? What is the meaning of the term consultation? So when you say consultation, does it mean that when CJI is taking a decision or an opinion, should he take opinion from other number of judges in the Supreme Court or not? Or consultation means only CJI opinions would be considered? To clarify, what he asked was, what is the meaning of consultation? Does it mean that only CJI's sole opinion is taken as consultation, or CJI's opinion which formed from the suggestions of other Supreme Court judges is that consultation? Hope I clarified that for you. Now he asked Supreme Court in that judgment. Now Supreme Court, acting on the President's reference, expanded the collegium. So Supreme Court used that opportunity to clarify certain things. Now they said that consultation meant CJI's opinion along with other senior most judges' opinion combined together. They would suggest CJI something and CJI would collect their opinion, and then they would come out with a combined and unified opinion. Right? That was the final definition given to consultation. Not only that, in that same third judge's case, the Supreme Court of India decided to expand the collegium to a 5-member body. Earlier it was a 3-member body. There was the CJI who headed the collegium, and there were 2 other more senior most judges of the Supreme Court that aided him in his opinion. Now the collegium became a 5-member body. It comprised the CJI, and the number of senior most judges went from or increased from 2 to 4. Now finally the collegium system that we see today took shape. Right? There is this SC collegium which is headed by the Chief Justice of India and aided by or comprises 4 other senior most judges of the Supreme Court itself. Similarly, the High Court collegium is also led by its own Chief Justice of High Court, and 4 other senior most judges of that High Court. So that is the final collegium system that we see today, that evolved over a period where 3 significant cases, 3 judges' cases helped in shaping the current collegium system. Remember, the collegium system doesn't have either the legislative backing nor the constitutional backing. Whatever the collegium system that we see in our country, through which judges are appointed and transferred, evolved over a period of time where the SC decided for itself and framed its own policy in that regard. I'll repeat, it is not backed by a constitution, nor it is backed or derived from a piece of legislation passed by the Parliament of India. Now, what happened with this is, because of these cases, the government's role became very limited. See, before the first judge cases, what was the thing? Or even after the first judge cases, what was the thing? The executive had control, the executive had a say. But in second judge cases, or in second judge's case, the Supreme Court decided that you executive cannot have any say. It is for us to decide who gets promoted or not. They took away the supremacy or primacy of the executive and gave it to themselves and held it in their own hands. Now, why was the government rules limited? No, they no longer can decisions. the role is limited because their job is to simply conduct an inquiry into the background of the lawyer or the judge who is being promoted or transferred. Transferred, not a problem, mostly promoted. Transferred also, sometimes they transfer it based on the reports, because if he is carrying out some activities that are not in line with the judiciary, they might transfer him from one court to the other court. But while the appointment thing came, the government role was primarily limited to conducting an inquiry into the background of the lawyer or the judge of a high court by the intelligence bureau. See, it even reduced to a point where it cannot raise objections or seek clarification regarding the collegium's choice. Let us say the collegium came up with 5 names. The government looked at that 5 names and said 3 people are okay, but the last 2 we are not happy with, and they cannot, under this collegium system, under the precedent set by the 3 judges cases, the government cannot go to the Supreme Court and say we are okay with 3 but we are not okay with the last 2. Can you change those 2 names? If the collegium decides to change those names, they can. If the collegium doesn't want to change those names and they send back the same unchanged list to the government of India, the government has no other choice but to accept the 5 names, because these were made under the constitutional bench judgments, and that is how they got the power to appoint judges to the collegium system, right? So this is the collegium system in our country. India is probably the only country in the world where judges appoint judges in their system, right? Now let us look at simply in a short span what are the problems with the collegium system. What are the criticisms of collegium system? It lacks opaqueness and lacks transparency. See, the collegium system proceedings happen behind a closed door. Nobody knows what discussions takes place. Nobody knows why a judge is being promoted, why a judge is being not promoted, why a person is getting transferred, or why not a person is getting transferred. There is no official record or public record of the collegium discussions or meetings. Whatever the proceedings takes place during collegium are secret. Nobody knows what takes place. Nobody knows who said what. Now, there is a scope for nepotism, meaning if the members of the collegium wish to reward their own people, they can do so, because there is lack of opaqueness. Even if they did, who will find out? There is no record for public to scrutinize. No? So what they will do? They will do whatever they want. There is a scope for that also. Not saying that they did, but there is scope for that also. As a result of this, there has been a lot of public controversies both from the government side and mostly from the civil society side, asking for the removal of opaqueness and increase of transparency in this collegium proceedings. One of the biggest drawbacks of collegium system is there is a greater chance that several talented junior judges and advocates would be or will be and have been overlooked for promotions and appointments. So that was the biggest disadvantage. We lost good talent who could have served in better positions and delivered best judgments in the coming years, but because of the collegium system, we could not appoint those people. Now the other drawback is, to make an appointment, the appointment process takes too long, because there is no set time, there is no set time period. We don't know when they meet, where they meet, or for how long they meet. So we don't know every year on January 7th or in month of January there would be new appointments. We cannot say that also. There is no schedule also. There is no schedule saying that collegium should meet every month to appoint new judges. No, nothing like that. It depends on whoever is in charge. So again, because of this process, the system is highly inefficient. So is the issue like that, have there been any other points in time where the government or anybody tried to change this? Yes, over a period of time there were multiple attempts to change the collegium system, but none were successful. Today we are not going to discuss that, but let me mention in next class we'll explore, or in future class we'll explore, video we'll explore, that is, the best attempt to reform the collegium system came in the form of National Judicial Commission Act, where the 99th constitutional amendment was brought in, through which the National Judicial Commission Act was born, where this system, National Judicial Appointments Committee, would replace the collegium system to appoint judges in our country. But Supreme Court struck down that constitutional amendment, stating that executive is trying to take away our independence, citing that judiciary needs independence from executive, judiciary needs to operate with independence. They struck down that amendment. Hope this video has been helpful. Hope you had learned something new. Thank you. Stay safe. Namaste.